Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechViewsNope, and today I am going to talk about social engineering, and this is class 4 of hacking. So as far as this goes, let me get into the quick disclaimer before I get into what we're going to talk about. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this will or should be illegal in parts of the world, and if you do choose to act upon any information that I give, given as an educational video, then it's on your head, because I have no control over your body. Therefore, I have no control over you doing anything illegal. So keep that one in mind, and I'm not responsible for anyone's idiotic decisions. So what are we going to talk about today is what is social engineering and how you can use it and how hackers use it. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. Part of this, I'm going to talk about what Snowden did and how he gained access to the NSA's files, the old files, at a given time. Now, as far as things goes, I'm not going to say as far as social engineering or any particular part is right or wrong. But in overall, I'm going to say that social engineering in a overall is viewed as a bad, more immoral thing. But in all honesty, in multiple cultures, multiple countries, if you look at it, social engineering is actually encouraged in schools, not as a manipulation to do something bad, but as a manipulation to get what you want, either in business or whatever. An example of this is you most likely seen this in your school career, being, and more so in high school than anything else, but you most likely seen it where certain people will actually manipulate teachers into thinking that, hey, we're friends, yada yada, and all of a sudden their grades are higher because they think they're friends. In reality, the teachers are morons and trying to be friends with teenagers when they should really be friends with people their own age. I'm not saying that there's anything completely wrong with that, but just saying that they're morons because the people are using them, and it's kind of obvious, at least from outside's perspective. So I even put this to a test in college and some high school, and I've even seen where my grades would dramatically increase. So you can test out yourself if you're in school. If you're in a work environment, depending on the environment, you might be able to test this out in some form or fashion. But for the most part, social engineering is actually encouraged in majority of the world, if not all. Now, what is social engineering in a nutshell? Social engineering is basically the act of manipulating a individual or group into doing something, and usually these are used by social tactics. Bribery could be one social tactic, but there's more complicated ones. Most of the time, social tactics being tactics to make the individual think whatever they're doing is their own idea, or they're not a part of something at all. For example, if you, well, I can give you an example in a second or two, but for the most part, there is sometimes social engineering is used to make the person know it's not their idea. So say, for example, if I wanted you to cut my grass, I say, I'm going to beat you up if you don't cut my grass. You know it's my idea, and 9 times out of 10, if something goes wrong, then it's really my head on the line. Whereas if I say, I don't know, people who cut my type of grass tend to make $3 million a lifetime, and therefore it's your idea, or at least you think it's your idea, because you say, hey, I want to make $3 million, so I'm going to cut this grass. And you might say, hey, it's my idea, so if anything goes wrong, then it's on my head. I mean, given that I was the one cutting grass. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and it's a very important thing to keep in mind, that if you're doing something, certain things, you want the individuals to think it's their idea versus your own. And this will keep you out of hot water most of the time. One area, real world example, not so much real world example, but one small example, the where you want the person to think it's your idea versus theirs is, say for example, if it's work, say if it's a work project, and you can make it where the person thinks it's your idea, so therefore if everything is right, then you get credit. And if you do it right, if anything goes wrong, you can purely blame the other person. Not saying that's right, but it does happen, and that is corporation maneuvering. At least I think it is. I've never had an area where I can actually test that one out. So as far as things goes, let's jump on into what did Edward Snowden do, and how did he use social engineering. Now, in case if you didn't know, Edward Snowden, he worked for a contractor that worked for the NSA, the National Security Agency for the United States. This was a big thing back in 2013. Edward Snowden, shortly after he got hired, he started leaking massive information that throughout the NSA, which in the end questioned the entire National Security Agency and some of the administration, the Obama administration. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm not saying that this is a good thing. In fact, I think it's a good thing that some of this information came out. Not so much that all of it came out, but still, I'm not saying it's a bad or good thing in the overall. We'll see in time, but these are the facts. Now, here's the facts on how Snowden got the information to start with. It wasn't his job, and it wasn't had anything to do with his job. So, as far as how he got the information, or how he quote-unquote hacked into the system, he basically used social engineering. He did not put any code. He did not, as far as getting the information, he did not put any code. He did not put any viruses. He did not break anything. He did not do any of that. He just used social engineering. What he did, and I can't get into the exacts on how he did it, either being romantic or bribery or whatever, because that information is not released yet. So what he basically did is he befriended a female co-worker. She had high power with both the contract side and the NSA side, more so on the NSA side. And we're talking about someone who could pull some serious strings for Snowden. Now, as far as did they have a romantic relationship, were they friends, or was it bribery, or was it one of those things, hey, if you make me look good, I'll make you look good, and we both make money? I don't know about that. But what happened at the end of the day is the female co-worker pulled some strings. She actually went on record and said Snowden can do anything and do everything better than anyone else. And what ended up happening is Snowden got full administration privileges to the National Security Agency. And this is very important because when he got the full administration privileges to the NSA system, the majority of their systems, that is, not all of them. He was able to see all keystrokes, all this, all that. He was blown away by this. I don't know why. Any idiot can tell you this is highly possible, and it's easy if you can get the full administration privileges. If you want an example of this, then go to your home system, depending on how you have it set up. Have full administration privileges and look at the logs of the web logs, the whatever, depending on how you have your network set up, what routers you have and whatnot. You can see what websites everybody visited and everything. And if you have something on everybody's computer, some security stuff, you can even see like a keylogger, see every keystroke put down and so on. And given as government in the United States, they have keyloggers on every computer. They have these keyloggers recording every keystroke and screenshot of no matter how high or how low the individual is, as long as it's a government computer. It does these things. Plus it sees all websites, all so on that the people go to. So it's no duh when Snowden got the information that he would be able to get it. Now, after he got it, he took it and ran with it, and I'm not going to get into that. Some suspect that he was actually paid to do this, because it was kind of unheard of on how easy it is for someone to actually get this type of information and privileges. So, just a quick recap. He basically befriended a female coworker. Something happened between them. She liked him. She gave him full administration access, or pulled some strings so he can get full administrator access to the majority of NSA's databases. Simple as that. And from there, he after he leaked the stuff, he went on run, and if right now it's March of 2014, so I mean that's pretty much all that's happened. So as far as things goes, and I'm not saying that Snowden is bad with technology, he kind of hasn't proven anything besides the fact that he knows a little bit of coding and basic stuff, which is, well, he's supposed to, but besides that, you know, it's nothing's really shown for it. So that being said, let's move on. Another quick example is a quick example before I get into the technology side of things. There's been examples of people using social engineering where they call up receptionist offices, and if they say the right thing, they can get the passwords and whatnot. But what they tend to do is call up reception offices, say a temp agency, or act like a temp agency, say a temp worker's coming in later on, and they act like that temp worker coming in and for the IT department, and they fool around with the systems and they get in. That's part of social engineering. Some parts of social engineering could be you can dress up like a pizza worker, walk into some office and get by the receptionist's office and whatnot, and from there you can get access to the server room. There's social engineering comes in many ways, but basically you can manipulate someone with words, text, software, graphics and whatnot, or visual, so pizza uniform, you know, something impersonating someone. So that's a big one. Now, I believe in the United States that's a huge felony, so don't do it. At least that last part. So, real quick, let's get into the technology side of things. And I'll get into a little bit more of these in a later video, like phishing. So, what we have is pretexting. And basically what this is impersonating someone. Keep in mind, from here on out through this video, I think I'm going to be just talking about technology side things, and what I mean by that is where you physically don't interact with the person. So basically you don't talk to the person face to face or whatnot. You might be able to do it over phone, but you're not face to face, so they can't see you. There's voice manipulators and whatnot. So pretexting is basically impersonating someone with authority, and this authority could be a cop, some friend, a coworker, whatnot. And basically, say for example, you want some information on a individual. Say for example, someone in your family has cancer, or you suspect them to have cancer. Their doctor's calling up, and you know that the family member's spouse is allowed this information, but you're not. So what you'll do is act like their spouse for the short time to get the information. So you basically act like someone who has the authority of getting the information, the right to know the information, and the victim would be the doctor, because they don't know, and they will hand over the information because they think you are the person, since you're impersonating. So that's basically what it is. It's basically impersonating someone through some text. Now, the information that you're trying to get could be anything. I mean, like, literally, it can be like, when did a person graduate from blah blah. I mean, it can literally be anything, but basically it's impersonating someone. This is actually done more than not, and a lot of time parents do this to their kids at some point of their life. It's understandable, but still, that is a hacking thing. And for hacking into a system, basically you just act like the IT person or something like that, and trying to get the information. I remember there was a big thing a couple years back where people were acting like they were from Microsoft and targeting old people and getting their passwords and whatnot. Now there is phishing, which is pretty much like pretexting, but it's not. Basically what phishing is, and how it's different, is phishing 9 times out of 10 tends out to be click here to log in type of deal. So basically what will happen is, say for example, I act like a bank. I send someone an email, say, hey, I'm your bank, you need to log in, I have a fake website, yada yada yada. And they try to log in, and I say, oh, your login didn't work, try it again, and I end up redirecting them to the real site. From there on out, they don't know the difference, but I have their information now. This is a common thing in phishing. Phishing goes pretty deep. I've seen it go to like super black hats, where they do this to corporations, to other corporations. And I've seen it where they piggyback emails. I've seen many things. Now, phishing is very easy to fight against, and that's basically looking for typos, looking for things like that. But for the most part, someone that knows what they're doing, they can even get down to the signature, the signature of the email, and you won't know the difference. And this happened quite a few times, and I'll get into more of this into a later video, because it actually takes a bit of effort to do this, to do it correctly, like a super black hat. That's a pretty common tactic though. So keep in mind typos and whatnot. And one thing I advise you to do is, say for example you get an email from a bank, just type in their website, the bank's website. Don't click that button, just type in the website. Unless your verification, your login information, obviously not from your bank but some form or whatnot, that's pretty much the only time to click on a given link. Other than that, type in their actual web address, and if something comes up that doesn't look right, well, then you might want to call up the company. But other than that, you should be more so alright. Obviously, there's no 100% to it. Now, another type of phishing is phone phishing, and usually these are, in fact, I've never heard of one where they don't have a automated voice thing. What these basically are is, instead of clicking a link to go to a fake bank website to get a password, what will happen is they say call this number. You call the number and the thing will sound 100% just like the regular stuff, right? But what will happen is, instead of you talking to your bank or whatever it may be, you're talking to a hacker, a scammer or whatnot. And what will happen is they will ask you for your password at some point, possibly your social security or something like that. And then it'll say invalid, and it'll try to get your secret passwords. And it's a ingenious way to get in stuff, but it's not good. Now, how do you fight against this? It's kind of simple. Just keep the number to, say, your bank or whatnot down, and listen to, again, incorrect grammar and whatnot. You know, the wording should be 100% right. So that's something for you to catch. And to be honest, one thing I do, I never came across this problem, but one thing I do is, if I get to automated system, just press 0, and 9 times out of 10 that takes you to a live person, and that should skip you through all that crap. Next is baiting, and this doesn't happen that often. And baiting is basically leaving a, say, USB drive, a CD or something like that, on a public place like a bathroom or, I don't know, a park bench or whatnot. Sometimes people, in fact a lot of times, people will pick it up, put it into their computer of some type, and this will automatically install things. I will highly advise you to not do this. Don't do this. Just throw away the crap, and or turn it in lost and found. That's actually a better way to do it. But what happens is, if you plug something in, put a CD in and whatnot, what can happen is the thing will automatically start downloading. I forgot what the CD is called, but a family member of mine had a CD that they got from their work, that when you put it in the computer at any given time, the computer, depending on the model, will automatically try to read it even before the operating system comes up. If the thing reads it at any split second, the thing will start formatting your computer top to bottom. So this is a huge one to keep in mind, is don't be just putting anything into your computer. Then there is tailgating, which is, and this is an interesting one, because you can use a RFID card reader, remote card reader, and what can happen is, say for example you were trying to get into some building. If you do the dog look method, you can go to someone and say, hey, that's a pretty cool card. Can I see it? And they might say, yeah. And they hand it to you and you just look at it and have your device there or near, and the thing will read it, and you just hand it back, say, hey, thanks, and whatnot. And they kind of know what you're doing. So if anything does happen, well, they know who to go after. Then there is the method where they don't know what's going on. You follow close to the person behind them or whatnot, and you need to get close enough where your stuff reads the RFID tag, subway or whatnot, and there you go. Or what you can do is, say for example, they're wearing their RFID tag badge on, and what you do is say, hey, can you hold this for a second? Just shove whatever into your hands, some books or whatnot. Go down and try to tie your shoes and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was stripped back there and I couldn't put those books on the ground, and thanks. And that time that you shoved the books in their hands, had your hands near the RFID card reader, the RFID card reader will actually read the thing, and basically they don't know the difference. They say, hey, well, this guy's just being a jerk, and they might even drop your books, but you got the information. Also, tailgating is also used as, say for example, if someone goes into a building that takes a card or something to get in, and you follow closely behind them, very close, and they go in. Instead of everybody swiping their card, just that person just falls right behind them. I've done it, and I've seen people do it, but for the most part, it's one of those things that if you hold a legit company and trying to have some secure stuff, don't do it, and report it as best as possible, and stop it as best as possible. Most companies actually have a policy against this, and you can get fired for this. So anyways, that's pretty much a general sense of some social engineering tactics. There's more of them out there, and like I said, you can impersonate, you can do some physical stuff, as far as you can go and just manipulate someone by making them think that you're their friend, and everything's all happy and whatnot, and in reality you're after their job or a grade or whatnot. Like I said, in school I've seen this plenty of times where students will act like they're the teacher's friends, and then after the class is done, they never talk to them again, unless they need them. So yeah, that's pretty much what a first example should be in most people's lives. And I highly advise that you practice this stuff legally, but do not do the illegal stuff if all possible. But anyways, this has been Craig Bennett, the founder and owner of TechViewsNelp, and if you found this video helpful, then please like, please subscribe, and please share. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll try to answer it as quickly as possible, or include it in a future video. And as far as things goes, please visit techreviewsnut.com, and I hope you have a great day.